Welcome back to episode 14 of the Barra Bedford. Previous episodes saw the accelerator pedal and brake pedal fitted up, which means we could mount the brake master cylinder and brake booster. And now Al has handballed me the task of making up some brake lines. Making up brake lines isn't a hard job. It's no different to making up any other custom line or hose. You just got to use some common sense. The standard steel line back here, the stuff at the front was cut out and is not going to work because where the floor's been cut out is where the brake line was. They were also very corroded and the rubber hoses were shot. And same at the back here. This one that's coming down to the diff is just absolute rubbish, and all these lines look very worse for wear. No doubt they might be okay, but there's no way we want to use them, so we're going to replace them. Now, this line I can kind of copy. It runs all the way along the rail and up to the brake master cylinder, but there's stuff like the fuel tanks in the way. There's a lot of things up there which might cause us problems. We can pull them out. What I'm going to do is obviously remove these lines out first, make up some new ones. As I said, using common sense. I've got some welding wire here, so basically what I can do is bend this in the shape that I want it to sit, and then copy that onto a brake line to then make up the line so it's perfect. It is a bit of trial and error sometimes. You get things wrong, you get distances wrong, whatever, but the main thing is running it correctly and securing it to the body so that it's not going to vibrate loose and rub holes in anything, and there's nothing else that's going to be touching the brake line that it's going to rub holes in either. So let's get to it. The old brake line to the rear of the car is removed to make way for a new one. It runs along the chassis rail and over the top of the fuel tank, so it's dropped down to give us enough room, and the new brake line can then be bent up to shape and ran in the factory position. The factory position for the flexi line that runs down to the differential is only small, so it's drilled out to accommodate for the new flexi line that we are using. Some 3/16 brake line, or otherwise known as Bundy tube, is run through a tube straightener. A new nut is slid over the tube and it's clamped into a flaring machine. These tools make life very easy when it comes to making these lines, and luckily for us, our good mate Old Cock was kind enough to lend us his tools. Thanks, Old Cock. Once a tube is flared, it can be bent up into the shape required. I'm using some old welding wire so that I can make up a template of where I want the new brake line to sit. I then copy these bends onto the Bundy tube using some hand tools. The brake line will have a joiner in the middle to make it easier to place in the car. A measurement is taken and the Bundy tube is cut to size. It is then flared and fitted up in the car and secured to the chassis rail using some brake line clamps and some pop rivets.
What are you doing, Herbert?
Now you want to give me a hand, huh?
I would have been doing it myself, but I've been busy wiring up a speedboat with an LS in it.
It's not too bad, eh? That's your job. I don't mind it. It looks alright.
At least it's got no RB aids anymore.
Yeah, that's true. So you're going to give me a hand doing the front lines now, or am I still hooking away?
Well, we haven't really got like 3 days to make one line, so I better help you. How about I show you how to make it easier on yourself?
Maybe I have been struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Are these lines here going to the front here? Or do we have to relocate these bad boys?
Yeah, judging by the length of them, I say they must go over the top of the arm there.
This came with the kit, didn't it, yes?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So they go over the arm and into the mounting point there with that cut off old hoses.
So like that.
Yeah. So yeah, this one will be easy obviously, but the other one will have to go over the top of the engine around the other side.
Looks like it might be rubbing on stuff. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we might have to put some brackety bits around the control arm area for it.
I think I did a pretty good job on that rear one though.
Looks all right to me.
Yeah?
You know what the thing is about making brake lines?
Practice.
It's tedious as hell.
Yes.
And it's rarely easy.
Yeah.
And you just got to keep at it. And it's frustrating. You know how I could tell it was frustrating?
Because I was sitting on the ground trying to film myself.
Because you were bleating and carrying on all day. But it'll make a great 3 minutes of film for that
I'll edit
18 hours of work that you put into that pipe.
Into a masterpiece. 18 hours. Come on, bro. There's like 8.
No.
That's still maybe.
It can be difficult. That's
cool. So my plan for this front one is to go up and over the engine, or do you can't come down onto this crossmember, can you?
no, because the crossmember floats around on a rubber mount. You'd have to put like either a flex hose in between the two or like coil it.
Because the standard one went around the back, didn't it? And
it went over the top where the engine now is, where we cut out the floor. So we'll just move it forward and go over the top of the front of the engine bay there. It'll be sweet, bro.
The front of the doghouse.
Yeah, where the front of the doghouse bolts on.
Doghouse.
I reckon we should get some wheelbarrows from Bunnings and
Let's do that.
just section them and make a doghouse. That'd be sick.
Test fit. Mills, you would approve. He seemed to like that idea the other day.
Yeah, save Matt the work.
True.
And it'd be structural because Bunnings wheelbarrows are obviously some of the most structural items produced.
Yeah, but then you got to deal with the
and it won't even have leaves rotting in the bottom of it and holes in it because it'll be new.
The special kid at Bunnings who is a qualified plumber, but then he works there now, and you ask him where a wheelbarrow is, and he'd send you down to the gardening section, and they're not there.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah.
That's Home Depot as well.
And we can get a sausage sizzle though.
Home Depot looks exactly like Bunnings.
Home Depot is cool. Home Depot was.
Yeah, but they don't have sausage sizzles.
No, they don't.
So
Take notes, Home Depot.
yeah, listen.
But they've also got cool other things that Bunnings does not have. Or, yeah, they kind of do. Got like,
Anywho, enough Bunnings advertising.
this is not sponsored by Bunnings.
Call us Bunnings.
I'm hungry. I want to get a lemon squash and a snag, eh?
Yeah,
I might grab a lemon squash.
I'm on a
now.
diet, bro. I've been in America for 3 weeks. It's not good for.
I think I actually lost weight in America from all the running around.
From all
and
the stress.
Sweating your balls off in the back of the Cresta.
Yeah. You lost ball weight.
I'm out, homie. I'll grab the lemon squash for the road.
It's your shout.
I might bring
You're
some more.
always taking my lemon squash.
I will bring my wheelbarrow around and we'll try and fit it before you go buy some from Bunnings.
I don't think we need 2 wheelbarrows.
I'll just bring mine around from home and then we can fit it. Yeah?
Do you have a lawn?
Yeah.
Really?
You know, my mum always told me, never lend your mower or your missus because it would always come back
Does your mum have a missus?
rooted. Bro.
That's my wheelbarrow.
It's the one that I borrowed.
I had to buy another one, you chutch. I thought someone stole it. Oh,
And
wait, they did.
We got this off Rick, remember?
Is that
At the garage sale.
is my Esky in there that you
Oh,
stole
Rick
too?
Newing. Nah, that's at home still. It's got a flat tire too, sorry. It's actually bigger than I...
It's also full of dry concrete.
Yeah, don't worry about
Sweet. Thanks, bro.
that. Been building a skid pad at home underneath my mango tree. It looks like it's... I don't really want to unbolt it and put it on for the sake of it's not going to fit anyway. Do you want to try it?
Can you fix a tyre and put it back under my house?
Maybe. I was going to keep borrowing it.
It's the wrong shape anyway. It tapers off too much.
It was worth a try. I kind of just want to throw it in there.
No. Hook it.
Sorry, I just dirtied up the...
For sale.
I'll fix this tyre
One
first.
Rodriguez.
One Rodriguez.
Free
For
to
sale, one
Free to good home.
clean make wheelbarrow. What is this?
This is our steering universal that we're going to replace the rag joint with. I just had to have it bored out to 5/8 internals because that's what size our shaft on the rack is. It's just got like cotter pin going through it that locks it up against the round shaft with a flat on it. And then we just have to chop off the rag joint coupling bit and put a flat on that shaft, and she should all slide together, and then
Is that...
the steering wheel will vaguely move the front
I
wheels.
was going to say, is that part of the reason why the steering on a Bedford is really bad? Because there's a rubber coupling that's always worn out?
I think it's probably more because it's like a 1970s delivery van.
All that?
Yeah. Might be, at least it's got a steering rack. It might be a little bit better than...
Did you see that sweet Bedford camper van for sale, the project one?
Project, you say?
Yeah,
How about that?
It had like a big camper on the back of it. Some guy was towing it with his VT Commodore.
Oh yeah, I did see that. What could go wrong?
It's a cool shirt you got there, Alan.
I'm a cool dude.
Limited edition.
Is it? Why? What's on the back?
It's got Robbie's sick
Malibu Stacy.
Malibu Stacy.
Yeah, dog.
Robbie's a cool dude, eh?
Yeah.
It's got a bloody firm handshake too.
Can crush a palm
I think he broke my hand when I was over there.
once a day.
Yeah.
Feels like I'm pulling the steering column through the floor.
I think he might be.
Splined. So this is what they refer to as a rag joint, and they call them that. Obviously this is made of rubber, but a lot of the US cars, it's actually made of like a fibre, a woven fibre. Does the same thing. It's like an insulator in the steering between the wheels and the steering column to try and cushion things a little bit. They are prone to wear, fatigue.
Can you do that again for me? I want to get a shot of that. That's pretty crazy. What could go wrong?
We're not actually replacing it because of that though. We're replacing it because the alternator is too close to it. So we need a less diameter, which this obviously supplies. So they're not a bad thing. There for a reason. A lot of people replace them because they want more hectic steering feel in their S13 or whatever. But whatever. That's not why we're replacing it. Cut off the old rag joint coupling bit and made a flat in the shaft. That is for the cotter pin to lock against, so it's like a wedge that you put through, and you just drag it through, and it just continues to force this. It sort of provides a key, but it also forces it against the hole itself. The steering rack is the same setup. It isn't the greatest setup because it can be difficult to actually get them apart again after you put them in there. But hopefully that won't be my problem, it'll be someone else's. We will douse it in some anti-seize though, just to help it along a little bit. The other end is just the normal spline, which is great, works good. Can go on multiple ways, unlike this. I will get Woody to jump up in the car and line up the steering wheel because the steering wheel has been on there for 100 years. It may not come off. So if we put it on upside down and the wheels aren't straight and the wheel won't come off, then we'll just have to do it again. So we'll just do it that way and save ourselves the hassle later.
Make that the wheel alignment guy's problem, eh?
Yeah. Also, thanks for the dudes that supplied this steering joint for putting 1 1/4" UNC nut onto this 1/4" UNF thing and just sending it home and wrecking the thread on the end. Well done, good quality control. Will not buy again.
That was expensive too, wasn't it?
It was $200 and they can't even put the right nut on the end of it.
Hey, it's hot up in here. Oh.
All right, bro. Even though the steering wheel's a bit on an angle, that's about straight right there, man. Am I good to get down now, bro?
Yep.
Sweet.
Oh, you there?
What's that?
Yeah.
2160.
Let's give it a try. It's not enough.
I'm reefing on that, dude.
I need a big one. The good thing about that belt measuring thing is it works perfect every time. Except this time.
Back to the parts store.
Yep.
Steering done.
Drift lock.
It has got a bit of lock, hasn't it? That honestly doesn't look too bad. It looks like it does have some good lock there.
It's for drifting. How else are you supposed to link those corners?
Getting the delivery van into tight spaces.
No, it's for drifting. Let's do these brakes.
Sweet.
I'll show you what you did wrong.
What I want?
Well, not wrong. I'll show you why you made it so hard for yourself. Come on.
The flexi lines on the front brakes are also bigger, so the mounting bracket is drilled to the correct size so the flexi line can be secured. The front brake line comes down from the master cylinder and into a T-piece to split into 2 lines. One for the left hand side and one for the right hand side. The right hand side is only a small 90-degree bend, but for the left hand side it's a little bit more complex.
Notice you weren't deburring the pipe.
I didn't even realise that was a tool there until this morning.
thing with making brake pipes is it's really tedious, and it could be, every car is going to be different, every application. It's going to be a lot easier if you don't have an engine or anything in the car. That's obviously the best way to go about it. So you've got full access. My advice to anyone who's starting out trying to do it like Woody is don't get too carried away with having it fit perfectly. This bundy tube is very malleable. Just basically rough out a shape and try and get your lengths close, bolt it up, and then you can just manipulate it into the right spot and hold it down with saddles and stuff. It's super easy to bend, so don't be too concerned about getting it perfect. You can't bend it like a piece of welding wire. It's a tube, so it won't bend as tight as that. It's got to have a radius and that sort of thing. So don't overthink it. Just the biggest thing to think about is how you're going to get it in there, especially when the engine and everything's already in the car. So, and have one of these, because this makes it a billion times easier. You can do this flare job with a manual tool, but each one of them will take 5 minutes to do, which is like frustrating as hell when you're already frustrated enough about it. Here is the finished flare. That's a double flare. Most Japanese cars would use that since as long as I can remember. This vehicle had single flare on it. It's also a sort of an industry standard to use a single flare. Your best bet is to, especially if you're mixing and matching, is just have a look inside, like the receiver for the flare. Obviously, it will look different. That goes into something that looks like a point with a hole in the middle of it, whereas that single flare goes into like an inverse taper sort of thing. So different vehicle manufacturers use different types. That's just how it is. This seems to be the better bet. I don't know whether it's obviously a safer thing or something like that, but everything seems to have changed over to double flare these days. This machine will do both. Basically, the first step, the operation one, is a single flare. The second step is basically just pushing the single flare and inverting it into a taper. So I guess it might be stronger. I don't know. Does the job anyway.
You don't even need tools like I was using, Alan.
No, most of the time, everything is so tight and complex that you can't use the tools anyway. So, like I said, this stuff is really malleable. You don't need a tool. You can just bend it with your fingers, and it usually gives you a smoother curve than the tools do. They tend to be sharp bends. So this is the way I do it. If you want to use a tool, go your hardest. Just get out to your shed and do some work instead of sitting on the internet. Once you got it into the general shape, then you can just sort of stretch and turn and make it fit. I'm happy with that. We just need to get underneath and put that one on first, because it's a nightmare to get on. Always put on the difficult one first, because once you've got one in place, the second one's going to be more difficult to start. So Woody, can you get under there and put that one on, please?
Sure.
I'm going to get you a lemon squash when we finish this.
Hey.
You look like you need a sugar hit.
Read my mind. Thanks, bro. Cheers, man.
This makes a really good template because you cut it too short.
I cut it too short, or we didn't buy enough bundy tube in the first place?
Probably because of all the ones you threw in the bin when they didn't work properly.
I wasted like 100 mil of brake line yesterday. That was it. Not even joking.
What about the day before? And the day before that, when you were making that back brake line as well?
There was no day before or the day before that.
Behind the scenes.
What time's that Bundy tube coming tomorrow?
About 9 or something like that. Too
Sweet.
late.
So
I'll have to go bike riding instead.
I'm keen.
There's some there, bro.
Where? Where? Bloody bonus.
Yeah, dog. It's the green stuff too.
Poke my eye out. Is that enough? That'll be enough,
It's
eh?
more than we've got. Oh. Still going bike riding.
Oh, like a boss, Alan. Look at this.
Make sure you fix up that curve, that's no good. Does it fit?
Sure. What are you doing?
Just topping up the spar so I can get my Barry White on tonight.
Barry White.
Remember that time that you ruined the engine bay of the Likewise 86?
Doing exactly the same job.
Doing what you're doing right now?
Wouldn't quite say ruined. I'd just say hi, Jordan.
Had the
And
painter
then-
in tears. Tears of rage, I would have thought.
All right.
No Juco was hurt in the production of
I
this
actually
brake
nailed
line.
that one. What do you reckon? That's sweet.
Like you got all your practice in on that show car.
On that $1 billion show car.
Derp.
Does Jordan watch a Skid Factory? You better watch his
You
Jordan.
better.
If you guys don't know who we're talking about, check out type in Likewise in Google and you'll be amazed.
We are likewise.
We are Likewise. That car is
We will-
absolutely
We will
amazing.
have the car on the Skid Factory one day. Once it's got another 300 horsepower at the wheels.
And that's pretty much it, isn't it, Alan? Or not really, actually.
For what? The brakes?
These still needed secured,
Yeah, that could cause a problem.
maybe.
Good to see the kit came with all the necessary stuff to fix that.
And there's still that rear diff, actually. Yeah. I think I thought way too ahead of myself.
You made a pipe.
Maybe you should
You
do
did all right for-
Maybe you should do the diff.
A pipe for 3 days work's not bad.
It wasn't 3 days, bro. Relax.
Depends on what sort of pipe it is, I suppose. Like a pipe organ would be all right if you made one of those in 3 days.
So why can't you just use the spaces like they were?
A gas pipeline, that would be acceptable if you made one of those in 3 days.
Flexi lines to the diff, brackets holding the diff, hard line along, secured to that.
Yep. Then we can put fluid into it and make the brakes
What
work.
about the handbrake cable, handbrake levers?
That's next afterwards.
Is it like a later job, like after the car's out the door?
No. No, nothing's a later job.
Everything's a later job. Thanks, Millsy.
Let's do that tomorrow before we go bike riding.
Cool. And you will buy some lemon squash
No, it's your shout.
tonight, and I will
It's your shout, bro.
drink some lemon squash with you tomorrow afternoon. I wish you could see the look on this guy's face behind you. Alright, I'm out. Morning, Al.
Morning, mate.
How are you? Had a bit of a sleep in today, did you?
No, I was just dealing with family life.
Family life.
Yeah.
You like those brackets?
Good to see you've fabricated stuff. I like that.
I even cut out the hexagonal holder
That's insane.
inside there so they stay put when you tighten them up.
Awesome. So these are obviously the brackets for this flexible hose. This would have originally just had a pipe running directly to the backing plate because it was drum brakes. Now that you've got a caliper on there, you need flex hose. This caliper slides, so we'll move a little bit, not much, but it's more so you can take the caliper off to put new pads in without having to bleed, like drain the brakes or disconnect them. So this is pretty standard fitment. So yeah, we just made some brackets, or Woody did. Just simple stuff. It's just looks like a bit of box steel that he's cut and then divided into 2 angles.
You know it.
Common bits hanging like just lying around on the floor, so you don't need exotic stuff or a handbrake, although I wish I did have one to do it. So now we just got to zot them on. Same on the other side. We've got our brake hose. This is new as well. So with these, you can buy these that have got a T-piece built into them already. Makes it heaps easier than having a hose going into a thing, then a T-piece, then going to your brakes. So simple as. So we just got to make a short pipe here, a bit longer here. Then the brakes are done, we're ready to put fluid in and bleed them up. Then we just got to cut these off and turn them around, which we've been talking about since probably episode 1, but haven't done it yet. So we'll do that. Replace these shocks, probably get some front ones as well. And then we'll pretty much be done underneath here, then onto the wiring. Even though it's a plug-in ECU, there's still a fair bit of wiring to do because obviously it's meant to plug into a Falcon. This isn't a Falcon. So we've got to wire in 1 whole connector's worth, and there's also an auxiliary connector for extra stuff that the factory vehicle doesn't have that we've also got to wire bits into. So that'll be a bit of an adventure. I think I'm up to the job. So let's just get this finished and then we can go dirt bike riding.
So keen for a dirt bike.
I am.
Is Reece from Super Cheap coming for a ride today or not?
No, I banned him because he's too good.
He's too good of a rider. Sometimes it helps to ride with better people because they push you.
It does. But I stacked it up this gnarly hill, and while I was trying to, dig my bike out of the roots and tree branches and shit, he comes up the hill on the back wheel, and I was just like, FML. No, we might go next week with him. He's probably at work. Some people have to work, eh?
That
sucks.
That sucks.
Yeah.
What's work again? The area where the flexi-line brackets are being welded is cleaned up with a grinder. They are MIG welded to the housing and the hard lines from the T-piece can then be made up. Once the brake lines for the diff are done, we can finally get onto the task of relocating the shock mounts. They are cut off and the diff housing is cleaned up with a grinder. The mounts are then placed into position and MIG welded.
You know what you're doing?
A little bit.
Good, that's enough.
This is kind of just going to go like this and then zap it on and you tell me that I've done it wrong.
That's what the dudes did last time.
Do it backwards. Before the skid factory, I never knew you to be one to paint things.
I still don't, I just make other people do it.
Well, you got a can of spray paint in your hand right now.
Yeah, I'm covering up rusty metal, or what will be rusty metal if you don't paint it. Not the same.
You're still painting stuff.
Yeah.
Happy, Al?
Sort of.
Didn't put brake fluid in it yet, or?
No, because we'll probably have to take those calipers off the back to do the handbrakes, because we've got to modify them.
That's true.
So, brake hardlines, done, yay. Shock brackets, yes. Mounts on diff, all good. Steering knuckle, achieved. Is that all?
I think so.
I went dirt squirting, you didn't, but we're going today, so both today. What else we got to do? Oh, heater tap.
That's relatively easy though, is it not?
Oh, well, you know, for a Bedford, as far as
Is it a-
Bedford things go, I suppose
Is it a
is.
Bedford parts guy, or is it like a rim wreckers, or?
Just got a generic heater tap and some hose. Hopefully it'll work.
Loop it around. Cool, getting slowly there, eh? Steering and brakes, probably the two main things a car needs.
Boring stuff that makes cars work.
Yeah, true.
So Matt has come and measured up for the doghouse. So we'll see what he comes up with. We need to do the handbrake cables. We'll do that next.
That's quite a big thing too, is it not?
Do it. I don't know. It might be easy. Who knows? But it's the Bedford, so probably not.
Still no vlogs and still no profits.
No, I haven't been able to nail this down. We need a selfie stick. That's it for this episode. The Bedford is taking shape finally. We're doing all the boring stuff, but it's got to be done. Got some fuel for the dirt squirters and got a box of lemon squash. And it's Friday afternoon, so me and Woody are set. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. This is my dog, Rumbles. He is a Ridgeback. He
buddy.
does sleep a lot. I'm pretty sure he's headed off for a nap now.